Am I the idiot for not allowing my parents to sleep in the same bed? I think you know where this is going, but there's no definitive answer on who's in the wrong. Also, for simplicity's sake I'll be saying parents, but it is my mother and stepfather. My mother and stepdad have been together since I was little. So, I'm a 25 years old woman with 2 older siblings, both male. When we were growing up, we were never allowed girlfriends or boyfriends to spend the night, which I felt was fair enough. When my brothers got to about 16, however, their girlfriends were allowed to spend nights, but they had to sleep in the spare room. Again, fair. That makes sense to me. I was always somewhat of a tomboy, so, as you can imagine, teen boys didn't show much interest in me romantically, so I didn't get my first boyfriend until I was already 18. My parents wouldn't allow him to spend the night at all, despite us both being over 18. I wouldn't have minded if my brothers had been held to that standard, but I felt as if they were favored over me. It isn't even because they disliked my boyfriend at the time either. Everyone seemed to love him. That relationship didn't last more than 6-ish months, so I dropped it after a while. I got with my now fiancé when I was 22 and we've been engaged for a year. We're getting married in only a few months. Still, just like every time before, my parents wouldn't allow him to spend the nights until a few months after we got engaged after I brought it up to them. It wasn't a conflict, but they knew I was irritated and allowed him to start using the spare room. We moved in together not long after, so it didn't really matter. Now, I may be an idiot. My mother asked about wedding planning, the first time she even contacted me since the move, and I told her I still had a lot to sort out, but I was getting through it, and she practically insisted on coming up to me and having a week of mother-daughter bonding time where she could help me with wedding planning. My fiancé isn't a very social person and is happy to be the moneybags behind my wedding decisions. He just likes to give little opinions, and I'm sure to include them when he does. My parents arrived and we spent the first day going out to dinner. I'd like to point out that the two aren't married and are steadfast that they won't be getting married again, both of them divorced already, my stepdad twice. So, as the night was slowing down, they asked to be shown to their room. I directed my mother to one guest room and my stepfather to another. We have a 3-bedroom with no kids yet, so we have the space. My mother said that there was plenty of room in one for them both and instructed my stepdad to come in with her. I explained that, just like she told me, it was my house and I didn't want them sharing a bed in my house. I basically repeated word for word what she would tell me when I'd complain about my brothers getting better treatment than me when it came to their partner. I told her that actually, they were in the same position I was in because neither of us were married. She tried saying it was different because they had been together for almost 20 years. I told them that it didn't matter because this is my house and my decision is final, just like how my mother would shut down any discussions about it back then. I was sure to mention how my brothers were allowed their partners and I wasn't, but she claimed I was making it up. They stayed the night and left for home the next day, which I preferred because I was happy wedding planning on my own, and I haven't heard from them since. My grandmother has called to tell me off for it though, so I'm wondering if I am in the wrong? Am I the idiot? Edit, a lot of people are confused. At my mother's house, we were not allowed to ever sleep in the same bed. Ever. Only months after we got engaged did my mother allow him to sleep in the spare room. Also, I said I don't mind the rules they have. It's their home, but it was the double standard for me. I had to wait until 25 to have my fiancé stay at my house when my brothers could have whoever they wanted from 16. We were engaged by the time they let him. I was no longer a child, and it's not like I've been holding on to resentment for years after it stopped, as some misguided people claim. It was months ago it ended. Also, my intention was never to make them sleep the whole week separately. It was initially a now the power is in my hands. Do you see the error of your ways? If they did, we could have moved on and laughed about it, and they would have slept in the same bed. Because they didn't and doubled down and started getting aggressive with me, claiming I was making things up, I stuck to it. I know I am being asshole why, but am I the idiot in the situation I'm in? Now, here are the comments. Not the idiot, they aren't even engaged. They are just boyfriend/girlfriend. Maybe if they get married you can revisit this issue. Comment 2. Are you petty AF? Yes. In the best way possible. Are you the? Nope. As far as I'm concerned, you're only going based off of the lessons you were taught as a child, and the rules of your home should be respected, as you were expected to when you stayed there. They should be proud that you're using the things they taught you. Grandma isn't. Though. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for leaving in the middle of a date? I, male 33, went on a date last night with a gal I had briefly been talking to. She was late for the date, which is fine, poop happens. I asked her if everything was okay, and she replied that she had just finished up filming, and that's why she was late. I asked her what sort of filming because I love films. She gave me this obnoxious giggle and told me to subscribe to her if I wanted to see. I was a bit appalled. She went on to tell me how it was a MMF video, male/male/female, and then proceeded to start asking my monthly income. I excused myself to the bathroom, paid the tab for what was ordered, told them anything else she ordered is on her dime. Then I left. She messaged me later freaking out about me leaving and about how she really likes me. I just blocked her number. I don't feel a need to explain myself. It was a first date, I'm not into that, and she can obviously get someone else. Am I the idiot? Now, here are the comments. Even if the threesome right before your date wasn't a deal breaker for you, even if you're willing to overlook the invasive question about your income, your date started with trying to get you to buy from her. She started your date by treating you like a potential customer, not a date. If it was some shitty MLM she was trying to get you to buy, you'd still not be the idiot for bailing ASAP. Comment 2. Not the idiot just for asking your income on a first date alone. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for putting my profoundly autistic daughter on birth control? I, 45F, have a daughter, 19F, Layla, who is profoundly autistic. She was diagnosed as a young child, and due to the efforts of her speech and OT, and her own hard work, she has been able to gain a lot of independent daily living skills over the years. As she started hitting the teenage years, though, we started facing an extreme struggle with her period. Due to her diagnosis, she is estimated to have the developmental age of a 3 or 4-year-old child. This makes her month cycle extremely painful and confusing for her. She does not know or understand why she is bleeding or in pain. She suffers from bad cramping, which is difficult to treat as she has a hard time communicating when she is in pain. Aside from the pain, the hygienic side of her cycle is very difficult for both her and me. Due to the painful nature of her cycle, keeping things consistently clean is extremely hard as there is a negative association there, and she does everything she can to avoid dealing with her period. After trying different OT therapists and plans, both me and her father, her OT therapist and her pediatrician have decided the best thing for her is to be put on birth control, so her cycles can be managed. We safely have her skip the majority of her cycles during the year, and it has been a blessing for us. It has been 4 months, and not only has she been able to avoid the pain she goes through every month, but her general mood and demeanor has improved as well. Her therapist believes her irregular cycle was causing her a lot of anxiety. The issue comes with my sister-in-law Ashley. She was over at the house yesterday having lunch with us when she asked how Layla had been doing recently. I told her that she was doing very well and explained to her the changes we made in the last few months. Ashley was horrified. She started ranting about how I am taking away my daughter's autonomy by putting her on birth control without her consent, and that the long-term effects could hurt her fertility. Layla will never have children, and will never have an intimate relationship with others due to her developmental age. I tried explaining this to sister-in-law, but she held firm. I honestly don't know if she has a very good grasp on autism or developmental disorders at this point. I ended up asking her to leave as she was getting louder, and I didn't want her to upset Layla. I let my husband know what had happened when he got home from work. Layla had already texted him trying to shame him for allowing Layla to be put on birth control. She has now involved my mother-in-law and has even reached out to my own mother over Facebook, claiming my husband and I are taking away our daughter's autonomy. I really think that the birth control was the right choice for our daughter, but the constant barrage of insults is starting to make me question things. Am I the idiot? Now, here are the comments. Not the idiot. Your sister-in-law has no right to an opinion in this situation. You did not unilaterally make this decision, you did so based on recommendations of professionals. I'm not sure where you're located, but period underwear has become quite common and may be helpful for your daughter during the times she has her period. I suggest you don't discuss your daughter's condition or treatment with your sister-in-law in the future. Comment 2. Your sister-in-law is an ass. There was actually a family that was in the news years back fighting in court to get their nonverbal and severely delayed daughter a hysterectomy. They won the case. It was interesting to me since so many people didn't even stop to consider the actual patient's quality of life. If it improves her quality of life, then good. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for saying my wife made us look disgraceful? I, 42, male, have in the past year been promoted to a senior position in the engineering company I work for. It has come with many new responsibilities and longer work hours, but my salary has seen a pretty significant increase, which has been greatly appreciated by my wife, 40, female, and our 3 kids, 14, male, 14, female, 10. The other day, I was working from home as our firm had an important Zoom meeting about an infrastructure expansion plan. There were maybe 30 people, mainly from our firm, on the call, but also a government representative and the regional head of our firm were present. Being somewhat introverted, I have never liked public displays of affection. They're crude and attention-seeking in my mind. So imagine my shock and embarrassment when my wife, who had recently come home, sits on my lap and started kissing me. It happened just as I was starting to respond to a point that the regional head made, but I ended up completely losing my train of thought. I'm pretty sure everyone on the call saw as well because there was a decently long awkward silence. My wife noticed my discomfort and the call, and she left. Going back to the presentation was just awful for me at that stage. I was talking way too fast and stuttering. One of my coworkers, 39, female, took over from that point, and I didn't say much until the Q&A session. As the call was coming to a close, I mentioned how I plan to refine our plan by the time of the next meeting, but the regional boss told me not to spend too much time on it as, your wife seems to need you more than we do, which just further solidified my embarrassment. After the call, I confronted my wife about what happened, and she did not seem too bothered. In fact, she mentioned how it was good that they see that I am a family man and that I was overreacting. She also told me that she thought the webcam was off. I was very frustrated as she knew about this meeting, so I told her that her actions made us look disgraceful and immature and that they caused me great humiliation. My wife was taken aback by this and said that I cared too much about what other people thought and how I'm borderline embarrassed of her. We argued for a bit longer, and it culminated with my wife locking herself in our room. We have not spoken much since then, and I'll probably be sleeping on the couch for the next few days. I am too embarrassed to talk about this with anyone in my personal life. Am I the idiot? Edit, for those wondering, my wife is a high school chemistry and biology teacher, so she has had many work-related Zoom calls herself in the relatively recent past. Update, thank you so much to everyone who has responded to my post. It means a lot to me. For those of you who expressed secondhand embarrassment, thank you for your empathy. I can assure you, I don't think I have ever felt so embarrassed in my life. I was required to go back to the office today, so I did get a chance to speak with my director. He and most of my coworkers found the situation hilarious, mainly because I'm known as the stoic/quiet guy in our workplace. I plan on chatting with my wife about this tonight. My new position has required me to work pretty closely with the aforementioned 39, female, and 2 other women, so perhaps that might be bothering her? Wish me luck. Update 2, I got home and had a long chat with my wife. I started by apologizing for overreacting, and I did say a bunch of other sentimental things that I don't normally say, but I know she loves. My wife accepted my apology and apologized as well. She mentioned that she got defensive earlier because she herself was very embarrassed and she really did assume my webcam was off. She said that she acted spontaneously but ultimately regretted it. However, she reiterated that it was good that my coworkers saw me as a family man. I probed further and asked her if there was anyone in particular she wanted that message aimed at, and she did admit that she felt slightly uncomfortable with me working closely with some of my female colleagues. Lastly, she mentioned how my longer hours have made me less physically affectionate and expressed her desire for that to change. I'm glad things have cooled down, but still feel slight embarrassment about the whole incident. Now, here are the comments. I'm only 21, never worked corporate, and even I know that behavior is entirely inappropriate and unprofessional. Not the idiot comment too. Not the idiot, this was a work meeting. If you had been at the office, would she have come in and done this? If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive.